Geelong, it's me, the one.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kick It to Scoops. I'm your host, Scoops, the sole admin of Scoops. What is your thought on that brand new intro? Yes, that intro has been filmed a while ago, and I couldn't wait to show you all that. Drop a comment down below what your thoughts are on the new intro. I think it's fantastic. Dare I say it, acknowledge me, the one. Today on Kick It to Scoops, we've got a lot to talk about. Scoops Goes Bang is going to be the biggest Scoops Goes Bang in a very long time. I'm not just saying that it will be. When I say it will be a big one, it'll be a big Scoops Goes Bang. And there's a few topics to talk about. Geelong and the chatter about the salary cap, Joel Selwood scenario, Brad Scott getting a contract extension while already having 2 years left to go, and Essendon aren't even improving. The Craig McRae and Adam Kingsley incident. I'm going to reference the Ken Hinkley and Jack Ginnivan, Sam Mitchell and James Sicily incident from last season and compare the two. I was going to review opening round, preview round one, and everything in between all that. First off, I'll start off with this. You want me on Cameo? Head to cameo.com/Cooper G. Want me to roast a friend, wish someone happy birthday, anything at all, cameo.com/Cooper G. If you would like to join my Supercoach League, it is not too late to join. Ideally, join before Thursday night. The Scoops Fan Club League on Supercoach, AFL Supercoach, 300 210 300 210 300 210. Alrighty. Now, if you want to go back and listen to it and see the graphic, pause it. Or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, leave a 5-star review, of course. And go and rewind the footage if you want to hear or see the code, or message me on Instagram, AFL Info Live, or Facebook, AFL Information, Trade Rumors and Results, with over 57,000 followers. Now, and we're going to do some news topics as well, of course, throughout today. One thing I also want to mention, if you haven't checked out my 200th game of cricket, career game vlog, filmed on a camera, please go and check that out. Game 199, when I got 5 wickets, also filmed on camera. All my bowling was in that game, and on the weekend, in my 200th career game, my batting and bowling footage. If you want to know how I went, and you want to see how I went, you can go and do so by watching that video. And also, last night I posted my vote count video. Now, in the last 3 seasons prior to this vote count night, I had won a vote count by a vote. I had lost one by a vote, and one where I finished in the top 5 last year. Will this year be the charm yet again? Will Scoops win his second vote count in cricket? You'll have to wait and find out. All I will tell you, it is one you do not want to miss, and it was all captured on film, round by round, reaction each round as well, post vote count thoughts and pre-vote count thoughts. So go and check that. I would greatly appreciate it. All right. Now, actually, before I get into Scoops Goes Bang, I'm going to go through some news topics. Disappointing news today to hear Lincoln McCarthy from the Brisbane Lions has unfortunately done his ACL yet again. He had played in the practice games, and unfortunately, I think he injured it at training, which is just terrible news for Lincoln McCarthy, who unfortunately didn't get to play last year at all, and not in Brisbane's grand final side. But he's been a really good player for Brisbane since he moved across from Geelong. He had a lot of injuries at Geelong, and he seemed to have finally got through all those injuries, and unfortunately back-to-back years of ACLs. Will that spell the end for Lincoln McCarthy? We hope not. He's a very handy option in their forward line at the Brisbane Lions, so we wish Lincoln McCarthy all the best. Some other injury news: Max King, Dan Butler, Cooper Sharman and Mitch Owens all won't play for St Kilda. Ross Lyon said last night on AFL 360 that Owens, along with the other 3, would not play, yet St Kilda listed him as a test and have to get through training on Friday. Who do you believe? We'll wait and see. I'll believe Ross over the club's injury report, as they tend to make things up for some reason or not give you the full information. Some debutants that have been confirmed as of this recording. Isaac Kako for the Bombers, and the Richmond trio, Sam Layla, Harry Armstrong and Luke Traynor. So well done to all those 4 individuals for officially making their AFL debut this week. Congratulations last week also to James Leake for the Giants, who made his AFL debut. All right, here we go. It's the segment you've all been waiting for. Please welcome the world famous segment, Scoops Goes Bang Boom. Well. What do you want me to say first? Let's talk about the Geelong salary cap chatter. Joel Selwood apparently being paid outside the salary cap. First reported by Caroline Wilson in an article form. But I've been saying for a while that Geelong are the most protected club in the competition. And I mean, even this chatter further proves that, I feel, because, not only are they protected by the umpires, by the fixture, you got all these examples where Chris Scott will say something, and whether he's right or wrong for an opinion towards the AFL, he may be right sometimes, he may be wrong sometimes. There's no fine, no nothing, right? Then Craig McRae last year went and said something and got fined for it. Then you go to the weekend where, you had Craig McRae and Adam Kingsley having a discussion on the bench, just, probably banter between the two as they know each other. And there was please explain, Ken Inkley last year with Sam Mitchell and Jack Ginnivan. They got fined. So the inconsistencies in the AFL is another thing to look at. But yeah, going back to Geelong for a second. Geelong have been let off for a very long time. They say about loopholes that they find, and there's always an excuse. Well, how come then when Caroline Wilson yesterday said she reached the AFL for comment about this Geelong thing she found, and they refused to comment? Why wouldn't they not comment on something if it was all rubbish? Why don't you just say it was wrong, what Caro said? They didn't deny it. They refused to comment, which just shows that Geelong have been protected in some form, whether this example in particular or anything else. They are the most protected club in the competition for a reason. As I just detailed, some things that Chris Scott's done, with even on field with the umpiring, they get favoured a lot. And it's not always the key amount of frees they get. It's where they get them and how impactful they are. And they get a lot of impactful free kicks, whether it's for them or they don't get them. The other opposition, don't get them, or they get them. The fixturing, they've been whinging for a long time about, how many home games at GMHBA they want, and they've been getting that lately more and more. Each year goes on the last few years. Chris Scott said things, whether he was right or wrong, and nothing happens. Even Chris Scott said on 360 last night, he was joking about that Craig McRae and Adam Kingsley incident, and he's been involved in a few. There was one with Joe Danaher 1 year against Brisbane. I can't remember what year it was. It, probably 2022 or 23. With Joe Danaher in Brisbane, nothing came of that. Again, whether it was right or wrong, but it's just examples of the trend of Geelong being protected. So I've just listed you some. I'm sure there's many more I could pull out of examples of Geelong, doing things that are different and they don't get in trouble, where some clubs do. Some clubs get fined, some don't. Some get a please explain, they don't. It's just a repetitive cycle with Geelong, whether it's Chris Scott, Joel Selwood when he was playing, Patrick Dangerfield when he says things as well. That's another one when it comes to things like that. So the original story of what Caro said was that Geelong were being looked at for paying Joel Selwood. Don't know what year. She didn't specify what year. He obviously retired it after their grand final in 2022. So obviously it had to be before that. I'm going to assume that it was in that later end of in the middle part of his career towards the back end, probably not so much at the start. Now, if Geelong have officially cheated the salary cap, which some people think that, and I mean, they've shown all these trends. They're trying to chase all these big name players. They got Bailey Smith across. They were trying to get Clayton Oliver, Sean Darcy, and now Matt Rowell as well. They were trying to get last year as well. So how could they fit all these guys in? Bailey Smith's already joined at that point. Then still meeting with Clayton Oliver, trying to get Matt Rowell and Sean Darcy. Sure, they didn't happen, but they were still trying, which makes you question. They already got Tom Stewart on big money. Paddy Dangerfield, the captain, will be on big money. Jeremy Cameron will be around $1 million. Players like that, for example, off the top of my head, Mitch Duncan, Cam Guthrie, they'll be on solid money as well. And there's some other players that I can't think of off the top of my head. They'll be on decent money at Geelong. So this story from Caro that she brings up is not a surprise to me at all. In fact, it's been something I've probably been telling you for a while. You know, it's something that needs to be questioned. With Geelong, they are the most protected club in the competition. And look, if Geelong have cheated the salary cap by paying Joel Selwood outside the salary cap from whatever time frame, if it was during the 2009 grand final period or the 2022 grand final period or any premierships Geelong won in between that, should all be stripped from that club and given to the other club. If it's not given to the other club, it should be stripped from Geelong's records of being the premiers, and no one has it. But, I mean, it's simple. Melbourne Storm and Melbourne have had salary cap breaches, and they've had premierships taken off them and massive fines and draft picks and everything like that. So the same rules should apply to Geelong, but we know that that won't happen because they are the most protected club in the competition and they need to lift their game. It's pathetic. The next topic we're going to talk about on Scoops Goes Bang is Brad Scott getting a 2-year contract extension. 2 years left on his contract with an additional year added. Now, this was reported on The Age. I can't remember who the journo was saying, you know, it might have been Pete Ryan, but I might be wrong with who that journo was. But anyway, it's official now today as of this recording that Brad Scott's got an additional year on top of the 2 years he already have left to the end of 2027. I say why? Number one, Essendon are no good. Number two, what has he done to earn a contract extension? Number three, why the rush? And that's the big question, why the rush? He had 2 years left. Couldn't you wait until the start of next season to see how Essendon are going? No one's going to poach Brad Scott. No coach is going to be poached out of another club with 2 years to go. So why do Essendon want to re-sign Brad Scott? They say it's a show of faith. They want continuity at the club. They want stability. All that stuff I've heard, blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't even give the best coach in the game. The best coach in the game, I would not give a contract extension to 2 years in advance while they got 2 years left. Unless, you know, maybe the exception would be if clubs are trying to steal them at that current point in time. But no one's trying to steal Brad Scott. This is a bad list management decision from Essendon yet again. No wonder they haven't played finals for over 7,000 plus days. Now, congratulations to Brad Scott. Nothing wrong with him getting extra years. That's great for him. And to be honest, he and his management have embarrassed Essendon by giving him an extension. And now he's there for 3 more years, and Essendon won't play finals for another 3 years. I freaking guarantee you that. That's just what's going to happen. That's Essendon's fault. Brad Scott, congratulations. You'll be there for 3 more years, and Essendon are wasting their money. As of right now, they could have waited and seen if Essendon made finals, and sure. Now, people are going to say, oh, now if they play finals, it's going to look embarrassing for you to say that. No, it won't. Facts still are that they rushed the decision, and there's still 2 years to go in full left of that contract. And they haven't been playing finals, so it doesn't even make sense for them to do it now. It doesn't make any sense for any team to do it right now unless they're being poached. But number one, no one's poaching Brad Scott now or anymore in his AFL coaching career. And two, they haven't played finals. They haven't won a final for over 7,000 plus days. So it's just ridiculous. To the Essendon Football Club and the list management people making those decisions, Adrian Dodoro is not there anymore. Lift your game. It's pathetic. Unbelievable. Essendon and their interesting selections and contract extensions. Yep. Some guys like Ben Hobbs and Elijah Sardis haven't got warranted game time. Same with Brian as their young ruck as well. Should be getting a game over Draper, but here we are. They're going to let him walk soon too if they keep playing Draper over him. I guarantee you that. He should have left last year, Brian. But, you know, here we are. Now the final one. Adam Kingsley and Craig McRae. In a conversation, I'll call it. And Craig McRae got to please explain. A verbal warning, they said. Seriously? Nothing should have come from this. It was a chat between coaches who are good mates. Did Kingsley look impressed? No. Maybe Craig said a comment that he didn't like. Big deal. They chatted after the game. I think Craig said yesterday they were all good. I think Kingsley might have said the same. So if they don't have a problem, why do the AFL have a problem with this? Last time I checked, We go all the way back to last year when Jack Ginnivan started a storm by ripping into Port on Instagram the week of their game last year. And Port beat them. This fluctuated throughout the game. Ginnivan copped it for talking crap. They lost. Right. Hinkley wants to give him a little comment about that comment, basically saying they're not going to play finals and all that stuff, or something, not finals, something to do with they didn't win the game, or whatever Ginnivan said. It was a comment to that, and there was nothing wrong with that. Okay? And then Sicily opened his mouth, and Sam Mitchell opened his mouth while carrying Luke Bruce off. I don't want to rehash old crap, but it links to this. So what I will say is this. Craig McRae should not have been even given a verbal warning. Nothing at all. Ken Hinkley should have got nothing. But how can Ken Hinkley now get fined and then McRae, Kingsley get nothing? They both, all three of them, deserve nothing. But how did Hinkley get a $20,000 fine? And why did McRae and Kingsley not? No one deserved any fine. In fact, if anyone's deserving a fine, it's the AFL for talking crap yet again. Another thing in the competition, they're screwing up and embarrassing themselves. Like Chris Scott. Again, one of the good things Chris Scott did say last night, and Ross Lyon on AFL 360, was what was wrong with that? They know each other. They're friends, having a little banter. Who cares? They didn't cross the line. So why is this even being talked about? It's ridiculous. The AFL have their favourites and players and coaches they don't like. It's self-explanatory. Chris Scott can say anything. Chris Scott said what he said last night, and I thought he was good in what he was saying about that Kingsley and that were friends, and there's nothing of it. Same with Ross. But the inconsistencies from the AFL. The other thing they were talking about on 360 between Ross, Scotty, Waitley, and Gary Lyon was they're pushing the back. They were referencing the Ruben Jimby one to Sam Layla, saying they should stamp that out of the game now from any point onwards, from that point onwards, okay? And then there's been a few other incidents from there. Mitch Owens got shoved by Jordan Sweet. So the AFL should have stepped up then when Jimby shoved Laylaw. Now, whether I think it should have been suspension or not is a different story. I thought it was dangerous but not worth a week. So they say they don't want that to happen, yet they're not suspending people. And now it's happening again, and they're doing nothing about it. And like Scott and Lyon said, they are radio silent on this, the AFL. Jared Whaley couldn't get an answer out of the AFL. The AFL, all they do is duck the questions and don't want to fix the game. They just don't want to say they're wrong and they made a wrong call or they haven't done something that they should have done. It's like you're waiting for a bad injury to happen before you actually change the freaking rule. Just like in 2010 and 2009, when you screwed St Kilda twice, might I add, 2009 grand final, Tom Hawkins smashes the post at half-time, given a goal because there's no goal review. Then you bring it in the year after and screw St Kilda over the 2009 grand final. In the 2010 drawn game, there was a replay the week after. We had 3 or 4 injuries that week after the main grand final. Then after that grand final, you brought in no more replays. You screwed St Kilda twice. And this is my point. Stop waiting for things to happen before you change it. They should have changed it when the Ruben Jimby incident happened then and there. But they've still done nothing. And more incidents like this have happened with Owens and Sweet. And there's been some other examples as well. The AFL does nothing until something bad happens to a player from an injury. Stop waiting for something bad to happen from an injury and actually do your job and actually stamp it out now, like Scotty said. If you make the rule now and tell them you do that again, you'll get fined or suspended. And Scotty says they'll very likely listen and never do it again. But because the AFL saying nothing, this is going to keep happening. Someone's going to get a bad injury and the AFL are going to say, oh, that's not good. Well, no, you could have prevented that from happening if you actually did your job. To the AFL lift your game, pathetic. It's embarrassing. Whew. Hope you guys and girls enjoyed that long edition of the world famous segment, Scoops Goes Bang. I think I nailed all those Scoops Goes Bang. I nailed the intro, nailed Scoops Goes Bang. So let's nail my tips and predictions and review. Opening round has got to go too, by the way. The two games that happened, Sydney 76, Hawthorn 96. Some of the best players on the ground include guys like Blakey, Matt Roberts did his job, Amon, Sicily played his role, Lloyd Meek, Will Day, just to name a few. Watson was terrible. He was the worst on the ground. But Hawthorn got the job done. Sydney had their moments. Hawthorn got the win, but Hawthorn fans carrying on saying, the top four's happening. You beat an undermanned Sydney without Goulden and some other players in their team as well. I know there's more. I just had a blank mind and I can't remember who else they were missing. Goulden was one, that's for sure. Logan McDonald, that's another one. There you go. So their best key forward and their best midfielder out. Sure, give them some credit. They still won away from home, but they're not really missing anyone Hawthorn besides Mitch Lewis. So who's their best forward? So, good win, I guess. But beat Sydney at full strength, then I'll say it was a great win. But until then, okay, it's a good win. Now, Collingwood 52, GWS 104. Gee, what a giant statement from the Giants, who had a terrible preseason. The Pies had a terrific preseason. Sure, they smashed Richmond, but that's not why they had a great preseason. Membry and Meyer checking McStay was going to work. Didn't work on the weekend. Sam Taylor gave Dan McStay a bath. People at Collingwood were ignoring Tim Membry's leads. He was getting in the right spots, and they weren't giving it to him. Dacos was injured. The best player in the competition. Dacos was out with cramp. People were saying up it's a preseason. You shouldn't have had 85 days off. Kane Corns is just talking crap again, as he always does generally. A rare good opinion from Kane Corns. But yeah, so this chat about Collingwood, people are saying Collingwood season's over. They're not making the top four. They're not finishing on top. They're not making the eight. Some are saying they're going to be bottom four. It's one freaking game. One game. It's just one game. For God's sake, people jump to conclusions off one result. They lost by 52 points. They got embarrassed. They played crap. Absolutely, they did. I'm not doubting that. But to say Collingwood season's over, I had a lot of online losers comment on my Facebook post saying, on my ladder prediction post, saying, oh, Collingwood's still going to finish first champ. You're a Collingwood lover. You're a Collingwood supporter. You're so delusional. You go for Collingwood. You're a hack. Delete your account. Never comment on your page again. This is like, seriously? I don't even go for Collingwood. Clearly, I go for St Kilda. I mean, unless you've been living under a rock and got no idea like these losers. I don't go for the Pies. But sure, because I had them first, apparently I go for Collingwood. It's amazing how delusional some people truly are. Sure, I like the Pies, but I didn't have them first because I liked the Pies. I had them first because I thought Dan Houston, Tim Membry, Harry Perriman coming in, who also had a good game for the Pies. Finn Callahan was amazing, but for the Giants, as was Sam Taylor. Kieran Briggs went off, so Lockie Keefe had to do some ruck duties. Callum Brown played his part. So, for people saying that Collingwood season's over, you are delusional. Was it concerning their game? Sure. If they continue to do that, then questions will be raised at the Pies. They got Puelo this week. Considering all the shit talk people are giving Collingwood this weekend, they'll come out and smash Port or beat Port. And then what are those same people that shit on them last week going to say about them next week? I guarantee you they'll go radio silent because the Pies will make the top 8. They will make the top 8. They will probably still make top 4. And in my eyes, they can still finish on top. Not if they play like that, they won't. But don't write off the Pies. Dacos was underdone with a cramp and all that. They've still got Dan Houston, their key recruit, coming in this week against his old side, and that'll be a fiery contest, Houston against the Power. I know some Port fans are very triggered still that Dan Houston left. I think they know who they are. But yeah, the Giants, terrific. Finn Callahan, 3 goals, 32 disposals. Amazing. So many good players for the Giants, not so many good players for the Pies. So it is what it is. We have some breaking news. Elijah Hollins will miss the start of the season for the Blues due to personal reasons. So we wish Elijah Hollins all the best. And hopefully he'll be back out there soon. Now, that was reviewing opening round. Let's now go preview round 1, shall we? Right, so, by the way, also, now apologies for the audio cutting out in last week's episode in the last 10 minutes. I don't know what happened there. I had my season predictions on the screen, so sure you didn't hear my reasons for why Kane Farrell will be my breakout player, why my bold call was Hawthorn not to make the 8 and Tim Membry to kick over 40 goals. I feel like with that connection the Pies have, Tim Membry won't have the number 1 defender on him anymore. And the way the Pies play, they're quick and they are elite with their disposal. I feel like Tim Membry will kick 40 goals. Kane Farrell had a great year last year for the Power. Dan Houston goes to the Pies, from the Power, which leaves Kane Farrell to be the man in their back line as the halfback running machine, can play on the wing as well. So that's why he'll be the breakout star. Dacos was my Brownlow, just like everyone's prediction for Dacos to win the Brownlow. So I don't really need to explain why. And all these other big name midfielders are out. So that's why I have Dacos winning. I was probably going to have him winning it regardless. Tom Green may play for the Giants this week against Melbourne, which would be great for the reigning Scoops medalist, Tom Green. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. And some of my other predictions you can find out on last week's episode when it pops up on the screen with the graphic and all that. So let's, go preview round 1, shall we? All right. So starts on Thursday night at the MCG, 7:30 Victorian time. It's Richmond hosting Carlton. I'll be tipping Carlton to win this one by 46 points. No Charlie Curnow, though, for the Blues. Lucas Camprielli will make his debut. Richmond have the 3 debutants, Laylor, Armstrong and Traynor, as I mentioned earlier. Richmond may go this season without winning a game. They may win 1 or 2 randomly, if that. Carlton by 46 points. Friday night at the MCG, we have Hawthorn hosting Essendon, 7:30 Victorian time. I'll be tipping the Hawks to win this one by 7:40, Victorian time. Hawthorn by 17 points. Saturday, 1:20 p.m. Victorian time at GMHBA. It's Geelong hosting Freo. I'm going to go Freo in this one by 15 points. Shio Bolton is one to watch to see if he will play round 1. 4:15 at the SCG, Sydney hosting Brisbane. I'll be going for the Brisbane Lions to win this one by 15 points, even though they've gone through a cyclone like the Gold Coast. So I still think they'll win that game even though it's in Sydney. Saturday night at Marvel Stadium, it's the Western Bulldogs hosting North Melbourne. I'll be tipping the Western Bulldogs in this one by 17 points. I know they're missing some big name players, but they're playing North Melbourne. And I tell you right now, if the Bulldogs lose to North Melbourne, despite having all those players out, they just proved why they won't make the 8, in my opinion. But if they win, they still may not make the 8. But, if they lose to North, with all the injuries they got, they're losing to North. They're probably going to lose the next block of games as they don't get any easier than North for the Bulldogs in the first 5 weeks. Collingwood and Port Adelaide, 7:35 p.m. at the MCG, Saturday night. I'll be tipping the Pies to bounce back with a statement and win by 26 points. And those people doubting the Pies will go very quiet very, very quickly. On Sunday at 12:35 p.m. Victorian time at the Adelaide Oval, it's the Crows against my Saints. No King, no Sharman, no Owens, no Butler, no Howard, no Filippo, no Taru. I don't rate the Crows at all. But I know the rare occasion I do tip against my Saints, they win. So I'm tipping the Saints by 1 point in Adelaide. And this would be a massive statement considering all the talk is around Adelaide winning easily. And with 4 Saints injuries, if we can pull this off now with great confidence going into Geelong the week after and potentially getting 3 or 4 of those injured players back for that game. Sunday, 3:20 at the MCG, it's Melbourne hosting GWS. I'll be tipping GWS in this one by 27 points. If they smash the Pies, they'll smash Melbourne, even though it's in Melbourne. And they've got some injury issues at the Demons as well. And the final game of round 1 in Perth at Optus Stadium, it's 6:10 Victorian time. It is West Coast hosting Gold Coast. I'll be tipping the Gold Coast Suns in this one by 12 points, but it wouldn't shock me at all if the Eagles got the win here. Thank you for watching episode 2 of Kick It to Scoops for season 5. Until the next video, take care. Watch all the content throughout the week. Some more interviews are being lined up. And if you know any players you would like to see on the podcast in a Gold King Challenge or an interview, please do send me a message on Instagram, AFL Info Live, or on Facebook, AFL Information, Trade Rumors and Results, with over 57k followers. and hopefully we can try and get something sorted. Thank you all, and acknowledge me, the one. Yeet.